bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Now, before we do the pledge, Commissioners Court special meeting, Thursday, July 31st, 2014, 2 a.m. in session.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
My sincerest apologies to the public for my service.
I know. Any public comments?
Judge, it went around and we didn't get a name.
Item 3 would be budget workshop. Tom?
Okay. I'm not sure if the commissioners want to go through each line item again. I addressed all the changes that were requested when we had our first budget workshop, including the road and bridge revenues and so forth. What I wanted to point out, I read, not allocated, but looking at each revenue line item for each of y'all's budgets, because last year some of the items were just very forward from previous year. They don't really evaluate it. So I evaluate it to get a better picture for each of y'all's precincts. And when we do the 8% increase, what we're proposing on the rollback, well, the 8% is on that more. We don't increase our license fees 8%. We don't increase our registration 8%. I just wanted everyone to understand that. But y'all are still sitting good. I mean, we can go through each line item, or we can go to the last page, but that's what the last page is actually makes over here. What our projected revenue is going to be for next year.
Tom, do you have
What?
an extra copy? I didn't get one at all.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
If you look at the very last page, we got our tax valuations from the yesterday. And if you can see, it's kind of the middle of the page, how much the values have gone up from 14 to 15. You know, 14, the taxable values were 23 million. This year we're looking at almost 25 million. Based on the M&O, that's our maintenance and operating, that's what we can go up 8% on without public vote. If you look kind of down on the left-hand side, it shows 0.4432. The actual effective rate is 0.41. 0.4104 based on the values, values for this current year. So by doing the rollback, we have an additional income of $388,000 rounded. We have gross and taxes; those are just amounts because of the ages and so forth. So what we're projecting for ad valorem tax for this coming fiscal year is $13,432,360. We can't budget the whole thing because we have people that don't pay it. So we have done better. Andy's done better, I assume, in her department, because last year y'all budgeted 95% for a collection rate. This year Andy's projecting 96%. So people are paying their taxes more properly, which is good for us. So the projected number that we're using for ad valorem tax is $12,895,066.22. So the way the tax rate came up is what I just told you. The effective rate plus the times 1.08, which is the 8% that we can do on the rollback. And we have more debt this year. Now that we got the bond, well, if you look down, it's the 2014 bond, $592,000, really $593,000. So we have to service that debt this year. So that's money that we're collecting, but we don't use it to pay it back. So, and the ad valorem taxes are broken down by precinct. It's a weighted average formula that y'all used last year. It goes at half a point for dirt roads, a point for gravel roads, and a point and a half for paved. We thought it was 2, but it's actually 1.5. So that's how all these different amounts are broken down. If we look at the base budget without these proposed changes on the right-hand side, we're going to have a surplus of $649,000 with adopting the rollback rate. If we got the rollback rate, and like I said, rollback rate, and we fund all these changes here on the side, we're only gonna be short like $8,000, so $8,000 can be made up somewhere within the budget, I'm not concerned about that. But the proposed changes that we had talked about, that we're looking to do, unless anyone else in the audience has any other requests, because I've gotten the latest ones recently, is we're talking about going to a 5% raise. The base budget was on a 3% raise, because the majority of our clerical staff and so forth are underpaid, not underpaid, but paid less than what our other brother, sister counties are being paid. We also adopted, because of the clerical staff being paid a lesser amount, they would also give each, when there's 43 clerical positions in our county, that the judge and I identified, $1,200. So that $1,200 would amount to $61,000 in expense to the county. The next thing is, we had talked about last time, the court coordinator in the judge's office that asked for $50 a month phone allowance. County clerk had asked for a floater position, which is $13.41 an hour for 6 weeks. That amount is about $2,000 with taxes and so forth. District clerk, she wanted to adjust the pay among her positions. That amounts to $2,482.62. Let me point out, if they get adjusted pay and it's higher, that's where they're gonna get, they're not gonna get both a raise and so forth. It's either or, whatever benefits them the most. JP1, same situation, they wanted to, we talked about that last time, increase, but they had other savings, so that's why it wasn't a large increase, because of the, cutting the 5% back or 3%. County attorney wants to move her 2 positions to 25. She talked to the court last time about adding a victims assistant coordinator. The benefits comes out to $39,275. Elections wanted to move Ms. Childress to $10 an hour. It has a very minimal impact. I think it's $3 or $400, so I didn't include that. She wanted to move her elections person, Ms. Prusky, to $15.62. Currently, she's making $13.13, and that would be the impact $3,736.84. Currently, our judges are making $8. Correct me even if I'm wrong. We wanted to move them to $9, so roughly it's about $4,000 in expense. Tax assessor came to me. We had proposed 1 position for the tax office last time. She told me that last fiscal or current fiscal year that court had promised her a position for auto as well. And this current year's budget, I'm not aware of that. So now she's asking for another position, because she said she didn't receive a position this current fiscal year. Apparently there's a lot more title work and stuff going on in the tax office. She also asked for a phone allowance of $50 a month for a voter's registration person. The Criminal Justice Center, we talked last time about $250 increase for their staff. And that's all the jailers and so forth, and dispatch. The Sheriff's Department, $500 increase a month, and it amounts to $153,704. That would include, the deputies and so forth, the investigators, the chiefs and so forth. The clerical, we moved up, and the other clerical up on top, so that they're aligned with the rest of the people on that second item, where it said increased clerical pays. EMA requested to increase her clerk $1,000 a year to align with other departments. Public health, Edwin Baker had talked to the court about creating a full-time position for driveways. So with the benefits and so forth, that's $39,275. He has a part-time septic person right now. He wants to move that position to full-time. The difference would be $17,000, because we have to pay insurance now, and we don't have to pay on a part-timer. The librarian wanted to move 2 of her assistants to $25,000, so that would be $5,428.78 with all the benefits. And we had talked about moving the part-timers who are making $8.65 a week to $9 an hour. So all these additional considerations amount to $657,000 $774.83. I did want to point out, I don't think we can vote on it, but these are just suggestions to the court. Like I did mention that staff will not receive a merit raise and a cost of living increase. What we might also want to consider, we can put on the agenda for our next board meeting. Staff employed after a certain date, maybe now we choose September 1st, will not also receive the cost of living raise. Because they can't start and then a month later get a raise.
On the staff,
Yes,
on
sir.
that, you stated that they were very much out of line with the other counties.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is this either or going to address?
It's going to get us getting us in line slowly.
I know we went over this earlier, but I was
Yes, sir.
thinking, I didn't catch the part about the staff. I was thinking that if they're that far out of whack,
The clerical staff.
on the clerical, I don't know that the either or is going to make that much of a move for them.
But we're making a, positive step to get them in the right direction. Because like Addis goes, they're starting the clerical at 30,624. We start our clerical at 21,000. So even if we move our clerical starting to 200, it's getting us a little bit of an increase to try to get to that maybe in 4 or 5 years. Unless the court feels they want to do something different.
Well, if you have a clerical person, and I don't really know what clerical, I don't have any clerical people, so, but if you have a clerical person that's making $25,000,
What's 5% of it?
$1,250.
So they make more with the percentage rate. than the
Right,
bill.
right. So we do it
So
either way.
we're doing nothing for them, basically.
No, at this, we're not. So if we're trying to get them in line, then we probably need to look at both ends of it, of course.
If
It
the budget
depends.
will allow, that's,
Right.
because like I said,
I think the budget's pretty squeezed the way it is right now. We would just be able to reallocate within this section right here. The 657.
But do we do that with the sheriff's department? Where they're getting the big increase, are they gonna get that increase plus
No,
the
no,
percentage increase?
Just-
no, you
just
got
that
four
increase.
secretaries there, so.
Okay.
which is, it's still, that's considerably more than the 5% though. For this,
Yeah,
this
no,
that we're doing,
I-
the clerical in most cases, it won't even kick, probably shouldn't even mention it because it's not gonna kick in.
Right.
I thought it was on top of the 5% whenever we was
No,
talking.
you're right, that does.
Wait, hold on just a minute. And maybe I stated it wrong. No, this is on top of the 5%. I thought I stated that. It's on top of the 5%.
Well, I thought
That
it
is-
Yeah, it's on top of the 5%.
Right.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're getting the 5%, and this is giving them just a clerical, an extra bonus for being, in that position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, this is in addition, it's not separate. The separate thing would be, if, for instance, you were deputy, you got
Yeah.
6,000, but at 5% only give you 3,000.
Well,
So they give you the 6,000.
all of those will fall
Yes,
above
yeah.
the
Does that make
percentage,
sense?
so that
Mr. Goins?
it's a moot point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
And-
sorry.
And I think the additional person that we're adding to the public health,
Yes.
that, not that it would be reflected here, but we felt that permit fees
Okay.
would
pretty much.
offset.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much everything, well, not pretty much, everything that we set up on is to recoup all the costs of the budget, our budgeted part with the permit fees. In other words, either add to the general fund because it's being moved to the general fund now.
Correct.
Either add to the general fund and actually be adding to the general fund.
A question for the commissioners, are all of you gonna run all your driveway permits through them?
Yes, that's what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. I am
Well, that's what I'm
committed
saying,
not to.
if we don't, it's gonna create not a good situation, but I was just trying to clarify that, I thought that was the case. but I just wanted to
Right.
clarify.
To kind of add a little bit to that, we've been in communication with the city of Floresville about possibly starting doing restaurant inspections in the city of Floresville. The county attorney and myself and the city manager, if that gets approved, that part-time position is gonna have to go full-time. But we'll be
the income,
recouping the cost
yeah.
Right.
to make up or, be more than the cost of doing business with.
But we did budget, Edwin, for making that a full-time position.
Okay.
got my pencil?
Tom, on this, on the tax rate,
Yes, sir.
okay, well, we got the debt service rate,
Yes, sir, point
point
0.0306.
0306.
Uh-huh,
And then we got the maintenance and operating rate at 0.4432.
yes, sir.
Okay, that comes up to the total of 47 cents, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so people understand how this works, on the tax statement, when you get it, does it gonna show that 44?
47.
It's gonna show the 47, how about the,
It won't break it out.
oh, it's not gonna break it
does not
up?
break it out, no, sir. That's
Okay.
just something Annie has to do when she gets the money in.
Okay, cause, the last statement that we had from the bond that the
From the
church.
jail bond.
It's separate.
It was separate,
Right.
yeah,
I
that's
can
what,
check with Annie, my understanding it was supposed to put it all together.
well, that's why, so we understand how this is gonna work, so.
And from what he's saying, when I first came in office, it was showing it, in total.
Yes.
And then they started breaking it out.
Albert, let me check with.
Okay,
Annie,
check
make
on
sure.
that, cause
My
I mean, if
understanding
it
was
shows all the
all-
47 cents, it's gonna say it's on the tax for the county.
Right, 'cause that's when I
But
was.
the .03, what is it?
Yeah,
Point zero
0.03, yes,
0306,
yeah.
that was for the people voted for that tax.
Correct.
So people understand where those 3 cents come
Okay,
from.
would it be better to have it segregated if we can?
Yes.
I guess so, it'll be a lot better,
Okay.
so people
All right.
will understand that.
And I'll bring that up, when we have our next board meeting, I'll bring that to y'all's attention. I did want to point out, I did have a call this morning from Judge Kennedy on a couple things. She was requesting more money for her conferences, and I told her what y'all wanted to kind of get folks on the JPs aligned, where, because there's certain required conferences for JPs, and I told her she could address the court if she wanted to on that. She also requested about having someone clean her facility. I said, well, I can bring it to court's attention, but I'm not, I believe Judge Burdette, they make do somehow with the stuff and so forth, so.
Me and my staff.
Judge Kennedy, table, stand up.
So all the JPs can get together and go clean the office, huh?
If Marlene and Jim would like to take turns cleaning my office, they all pay them extra clean, that'd be great.
We don't pay them extra.
I think they knew they were elected to do that.
And on and the other thing that we have, well, I don't know, first you wanna address just Kennedy?
Is there anything else, Judge, you have?
Go ahead, go ahead.
On the conference and dues of precinct 4,
Yes, sir?
I don't know if it's been adjusted because I know the person that's gonna come in precinct 4 is gonna have to attend to 3 mandatory.
We discussed that last time, I think.
Did it get changed?
Yeah, $2,500.
That'd be,
That would be more than,
orientation and all that.
Yes.
Right.
I think we did discuss it. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
They started that's taking some of our training on webinars, and I've sat at the office and do it, and they can get most of our hours sitting there in the office on all, complete range of subjects.
And on the other issue that I had on the phone allowance, I mean, I don't got no issue with it, who gets it or nothing, but, I've been approached by a lot of people who say if one person gets it from one office, which is considered a secretary, a clerk, or whatever, a secretary clerk, they also want a phone allowance.
Well, if you're speaking of Dawn,
I don't know who, I'm just saying.
well, she's an administrative assistant, which coordinates all of the yard, the people out here, the clerks, and said that you folks call her on
No.
her cell phone, well, maybe not you, but some of the others.
I don't know who the other ones are.
Judge, can I throw in? I will say this, when juveniles are detained on a Friday night or Saturday morning, both juvenile probation and I are texting and calling Dawn over the weekend, because they're gonna contact me and say, hey, we need to have a hearing Monday morning. I can't set a hearing on the judge's calendar. Dawn somehow can memorize his calendar and knows what he's got going on Monday morning or Monday afternoon. And so we do spend weekends back and forth on the phone.
Okay, well, I just wanted to know the reason of the phone, that's all.
Right.
Well,
But she, at that
The
moment, she has
coordination,
also
if
called
you have any
attorneys.
doubts about the coordination of the county court, you got the prosecutor here, each one of the clients has a defense attorney. And they're calling, the clients are calling, the defense attorney's calling, after working with my schedule, their schedule, it's not an easy job to do.
I know
And
that.
it takes all of that with the phone to
But
get it
she
done.
actually has the rotation of defense attorneys saved on her phone, because the code says that the attorneys are to be appointed in a rotation. So when we call her on Friday night, she starts Saturday call in defense attorneys to see who can be here at 9 o'clock Monday
Well,
morning.
you see, we didn't know nothing like that.
Yeah, so that, we unfortunately keep her weekends kind of busy on occasion in the summer when the kids are getting in trouble.
And the other one, Annie had asked for Olga. She said, she was bombarded with calls all the time.
Yeah, that's on the election.
Right.
And that's, you know, there's not regular hours on the election, there's people calling from.
I can speak on the elections. She needs it in the middle of the night when we
Right.
call her, because I spend a lot of time
Correct.
coordinating with her
So this,
weekends and stuff.
Tom, this note at the bottom is not correct then, unless I'm not understanding it? Where it says staff will not receive the merit and the cost of living?
Yes, that's incorrect. So, yeah. It's the one that's the benefits that, well, okay, wait, let's back up.
I mean, honest to you, to say a while ago, they don't get,
I think what he meant, that's really not, probably doesn't probably go across what he said there, but I think what he meant to say was like, with the deputies, that where it's clearly more than the percentage,
Yes,
that it doesn't apply to them, but these others, it was.
whichever benefits in the.
It was
so,
nothing.
but they will get the,
Yeah,
the
they will get the
increase down
5%,
5%.
whatever y'all vote on the 3 or 5%.
okay,
Right,
okay, I just want
right. And I know, hey, Commissioner Gomez brought up about net data. John's not here. I called him today to go over a whole contract. We have a 6-year contract with him that expires in 16. We have like 5 components of it. And I want to make sure we're using all the components. The actual maintenance, $64,000 a year. We also have the hardware runs $5,000. John's would like to do the $5,000 instead of $10,000. We just paid a 2-year on that, so we won't be paying on that next year. This one, I'm not sure if we use, is called image maintenance, and it's a countywide thing. They told me what it's for, mug shots, marriage licenses, so on and so forth. I'm not sure if y'all are using that.
I'm not using anything.
That's
Marriage
costing
license.
$5,000 per year. They said if we're not using it,
Sheriff's
we should get
office
rid
is
of it.
using it.
Okay, the sheriff,
The sheriff's office,
but if
Okay,
they're
so we
charging
have to pay
something.
for it.
No,
Okay.
it's just an imaging program and it's, you could use it.
Okay.
But I know the sheriff is using it.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm not
We
using
use it with the
So
sheriff.
they bill us for, whatever component, even though we don't use all the components of it.
Oh, okay. 'cause
And
I
the
was
last
gonna
one,
say,
IBM, is also, it's a backup system that we have to pay them like $6,700 for it. So the reason why the fees went up for the JPs and so forth, I think it was a bad budget last year. She didn't allocate the amounts correctly, so that's why it shows a little bit of an increase for each of the departments.
I think it was allocated out of the sheriff's budget
Right.
last year, the whole amount, and then Tom broke it out into
To
the
each
individual
department.
offices.
Different
So
departments.
each of our
Yes.
department budgets went up this year,
Right.
instead of it all just coming out of the sheriff's budget.
Correct. Cadenas has ordered a hot check this last year in your department as well, the separate time before. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
And also, sheriff has a discretionary account, it doesn't really affect our budget, but for inmate telephones where he has money that goes into it, he's looking to buy computers for the cars, and we can do it in like 3 installments, I believe, wasn't it, or 2 installments? We don't have to pay for it all up front.
Yeah, the first payment would be due in 1 year.
Right. And like I said, it's not gonna affect our budget, because he gets that money in, so we can do it at 2 years.
And that money's designated to go back to sheriff's department anyway, so it's.
Right.
You can do that.
Yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up to y'all's attention. He had meant, asked me to ask that last time. Oh, we have a request that came in from Wilson County Ambulance Association and the County Commissioners. Due to the increase of our call volume and increase in supplies and fuels, we're requesting an increase of $10,000 more a year. If further information is needed for this request, please don't hesitate to call me. Currently, they're receiving 30,000. Our other 3 are receiving 25,000, Stockdale, Livonia, and ESD number 2. So this would put them up to 40,000, which would be 15 more than, I didn't budget for it, but I just want to discuss it. We need to budget for it, we can. This would put them up to 40, and like I said, the other 3 would be at 25.
And
So whatever y'all want to
Well, we
discuss.
got 2 volunteers that now, they're not in the ESD.
Well, that doesn't make it, that doesn't get a volunteer.
No, I'm talking about, but they don't get a, they're not in the
I think
ESD.
we got 1 true volunteer, which is Laverne. The rest of them are paid.
no.
He's talking about
No,
organizations.
That are outside of.
Outside.
ESD, yeah,
Outside. I'm talking about,
Lavernia EMS and Wilson County EMS are outside of ESD.
okay, those are the 2 that.
Yeah, they're outside of ESD.
And I think from the court standpoint, what we need to do is encourage people that having a shortfall and that don't have an ESD is to look at voting in an ESD. Because we can't keep increasing, because, and matter of fact, if we could get everybody under ESD, then we could do away with it altogether.
The problem you're gonna have with this is that ESD number 2 was formed for fire
And EMS.
and EMS, and there's not enough money for that. There is no ESD in Livonia for EMS. Stockdale area did an ESD. The funding's helping, but the funding is, you know, that's a rural area, is really not sufficient to cover all the needs. So if we need to do this, we can do it, but as soon as we do, I will pretty well assure you that we'll have Livonia,
Well, that's what I've said.
Eagle Creek,
Whenever
and
they-
Stockdale over here asking for the same thing.
When they passed the ESD, some people said, are you going to, you know, is the court still going to fund them? I said, well, yeah. But those people pay their taxes just like everybody else, and because they voted ESD, you're not going to take money away from the distribution of it, you know, so I mean,
Oh, that's exactly right.
you know, it's,
So that, you know, I don't doubt that Floresville probably needs it, but we need to understand it's not it's like the telephone thing you talked about, it's not a $10,000 deal, it's a $40,000.
It's been heard kind of through the grapevine that the new administrator of the hospital has given some thought to possibly doing the ESDs under the hospital umbrella, such as they do it in, I understood they did in DeWitt County. Which if that was to be the case, maybe the ESDs would dissolve, or whatever, because like I said, they're all gonna run in hardship.
It'd be good for the hospitals.
And that would probably be the most efficient way if they would actually do it, you know, but.
What's the rest could say, Tom, you said
10,000.
each one?
No.
No.
They're
No,
paying
just-
25.
25.
Oh, the other ones are 25 apiece, and they're at 30 right now. They wanna go down to 10, which would put them at 40. Other three at 25.
I just know how it's gonna be.
Right.
If there's one at 40 and 3 at 25.
What if we do 5 instead of 10? Give them a little bit of increase, I mean, something.
They already at 30, above 5,000,
Yeah,
the other
You
three.
could even give it a Livonia 5 if you want, because of the two that's coming. I mean, they both make a lot of calls.
But the thing about it is, they are no more deserving than the people that have passed the ESD.
But we give
So we're
it,
not gonna give Livonia and Floresville and leave the other two out.
but, they're getting ESD money from the people, plus we're supporting also.
Right.
So if you wanna support everybody, I'm for it too. Give everybody, if we give Floresville and Livonia, if they wanna come in and they tell us that they need an increase, we'll give them an increase.
We don't have it to give away.
We have to cut somewhere to do it.
And there's been some of the fire departments that have asked for an increase, but if we do that repeater system, I told them that's what pretty much most of that money goes in.
Well, see, that's the other side of the
5 or
issue,
6 of that, yeah.
is that when you start doing it for EMS, then the next thing is gonna be fire. Because the fact of the matter is that all of the volunteer, the only, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, the only operation that we have within the county that is funded to where they're pretty comfortable is ESD number 1, and that was just for fire. And they would probably differ with that, but as far as being fairly flush with cash and being well managed, I think they fall into that for the most part.
But it's eventually gonna go to where they're all underfunded, and we don't have the budget at our fingertips to fund all of them. And ESDs are under the hospital umbrella or something gonna have to be done, because we're a growing county, there's more people, there's more need. But three of the areas, in one fire department EMS, and one EMS, have all elected to go to ESD, and that's probably what needs to happen to the entire county. You know, I mean, they're drawing salary, these people that's working in the Wilson County ambulance, they're drawing in salary, they're not They're not volunteers like many of them. So the funding needs to come through an ESD. I mean, you can't just sit back and think, well, it's gonna go away, or we can't fund it with all our needs that we have to take care of in a growing county. The people need to elect, get on the ballot and vote in an ESD to maintain the cost that they need.
I had the same conversation this week with respect to Stockdale Fire. They requested $10,000, and I told them that we couldn't do it, because it's just, that we couldn't, that I couldn't come to court. And they wrote a letter, I'm not saying you're going to do anything wrong, but that I couldn't come to court and ask for $10,000 for Stockdale without realizing that all the other fire departments are in the same basic situation, the same basic condition. They're all volunteer agencies, except, well, even Lavernia's volunteer, they're the only one.
All fire are volunteer.
But they're in a much better financial position than this stuff.
This is RSO dispatches for the fire department as well, right? Can we ask for more money from the city of Floresville for what they pay us for dispatch?
Well, that and both, I mean,
I want to thank the sheriff for going
Yeah.
to both meetings. I'm not sure if we can get
if
it.
anybody listens to monitor the radio, the EMS, Florida will have 2 calls at one time, backed up against Florida calls constantly, the last couple of months. I mean, it's hard, I don't know how they're doing it. ESD ain't gonna even solve the problem, you know. I mean, they're having to constantly make double calls.
It's not what it was 5 years ago for anybody.
No.
It's called.
And, you know, and I think the cities need to try to help with some of this stuff.
I agree.
You know, they're making calls at the Veterans Hospital, both the nursing homes, you know, doctors' offices,
Right.
you know.
But
Then you gotta
those
make-
calls like the hospital and Veterans Hospital, those are normally paid. The federal government pays those calls.
I'm not saying that.
And a private EMS could make those calls, but that's part of the way they're funding their salaries on those
They
jobs.
do make some of them.